they are potentially out of the tournament. If they lose one more game in this group, they will have 4 losses in a row, and there is no way they get out of those groups.
And so kickstarting things off with our picks and bans, Bigetron Esports, they really want to target Ozoroveki. He's that big playmaker for Geek Fam, and he brings so much knowledge and experience for his team. If they can get rid of the champions that he's comfortable with and get a good matchup, they could potentially win this one out and just outright. But Ozoroveki, you know, he has such a diverse playstyle. He could go control, he could also go for assassins like the Ari that we've seen so far. So Bigetron just looking for some stable bans.
I think the other side of the coin we have to talk about is that Geek Fam looked more like themselves yesterday, right? This is a team that hasn't been able to hit the peaks they hit during their Malaysian region regular season, but day by day, day 1 to day 2, they've looked a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more themselves.
And so going for an Akali early on, okay, I like this. It's like you said, Geek Fam feeling more comfortable in their own skin, joining into the competition. They had a rough start, and now going for this Akali Garen really goes to show the aggression you want to go for. And this is a team that are, I would go as far as to say, kind of the leaders in terms of meta, in terms of new ideas in what they want to play. We've seen some interesting things from them before, stuff they bring into the jungle. So instead, going to lock in that Lee Sin. Lee Sin's solid, aggressive pickup. It has a high win rate throughout games, and for good reason. It's such a big playmaker. If they can make good use of this, I think Geek Fam could pick up a really strong early game.
And the most exciting part to me is that we have such disparate playstyles being built for here. Geek Fam will complete their roster leaning into that Akali, leaning into that aggression. And on the opposite side, Bigetron, they've scaled all the way back. This is a very defensive composition.
Defensive composition aside, I would say Geek Fam have also been able to round off their composition well, bringing in the Braum. Having that Glacial Fissure is a big disengage tool. Without that, you could see Falp, Harry just jumping in and taking down Momo. So they have to be so cautious about that. The Braum really is going to be that main disengage for the team, and without him there, these big fights, these 5v5 team fights are automatically lost for Geek Fam.
It's game time. Bigetron, over on the left-hand side of your screen, are going to play a little bit slower normally, a little bit more controlled, wouldn't you say, Grandon?
Oh, absolutely. Geek Fam love to play things a little bit slower and start playing it around the objectives. Once they come up about the 4-minute mark, they aren't necessarily the ones to make the biggest plays early on. That spot is kind of reserved for teams like EVOS, like Secret that we've already seen. Instead, they focus on strong fundamental laning and going for these objectives later on in the game.
And on the opposite side, Geek Fam haven't looked like themselves in this tournament, but at least at home, they're known for these crazy aggressive lanes.
So trying to go for an aggressive pickup with the Ezreal Braum has pretty good dueling potential against his Rakan.
Harry, 1 HP. Arcane ship forward. Momo can't complete the kill. Harry will survive. And now Nyx is low. Focus down. Dua will get the kill. Momo falls as well as Control arcs into the lane. And the early trading goes to Bigetron. 2 for 1.
Oh, you're kidding me. Mid lane too now. Zorbeki takes a lot of damage. But wow, Geek Fam, they jump in, almost take down Harry. He loses all his summoners. At the same time, Diwa was almost dead. Finally goes down to the minions. They have to be thanking their lucky stars. They still had some vision. The aggro was still there. Without that, man, that would have been such a disastrous fight for Geek Fam.
Yeah, they really wanted to shut down Dua and Harry there, but you're doing that into Xayah Rakan, which is maybe the most survivable lane in the game. So they just keep disengaging, stepping back, and Momo spends his mobility going forward to try and close the kill.
And now it's going to be a really different dynamic because Momo, he doesn't pick up the kill. He gets an assist and instead has to go for the Tear of the Goddess. And it's a big difference. It's a far cry from seeing a full BF sword completed from the Xayah, so much more damage. You talk about sustain from the Xayah Rakan, you're absolutely right. On top of that, the dueling pressure from Xayah Rakan is something that you cannot ignore. Let's say take a look towards the Baron lane. Some pressure coming up from Rumple, but he isn't able to find too much with control, just hovering by the side too. Oh, did he?
Rumple did just steal away the blue buff, which is very exciting.
So actually gets an early buff lead in this early game, and you can take a look. He has one of the Skull Crabs too. It's a pretty good exchange overall. Control did manage to get that first kill, and so I like the fact that Rumple traded back quickly when he knew that the enemy jungler was down towards his Dragon lane.
Yeah, like you say, he saw Control down bottom and said, hey, I can just walk in up top and get an advantage. They also have that entire top side of the map lit up. So Ozurvaki going in for the Squire's Blue knows that the enemy jungler is somewhere nearby. Probably doesn't think he's that close, though. Control comes over the wall and finds a kill. Rumple instantly undone. And here, as we load towards our first Drake of the game, Bigetron have a man advantage.
And that is about as bad of a play as you wanted to see coming out from Geek Fam to start things off a little bit too greedy. You know, that's Lee syndrome in a nutshell. Saw the Sonic Wave land, and so had to proc the Resonating Strike. Instead, take so much damage from the turret because you can't ignore the fact that Henry is on this Galio. He has so much control in the mid lane. And like you mentioned, Dragon coming up now is a good chance for Bigetron Esports to go and pick this one up. Unfortunately, Control hasn't had the chance to reset yet, and so still looking at just a single longsword, whereas Rumple is now joining back in, has the Phage already completed, so it's going to be a pretty significant difference with the jungler items.
A worrying sign for Rumple. Is going to try and take advantage of it, kicking him underneath the turret. Oh, what a glacial fissure. Control his focus down with scalpel-like precision. And they get a double kill to Ozurvaki. Henry barely alive. Geek Fam, that was beautiful. They're going to get a Drake from it.
And Trusha Barrage almost took down Henry too, and now he's stuck on the turret, can't join in. And what's worse than a Galio that's dead? A Galio that can't join into a fight with the ultimate because he doesn't have health. Even after he comes with the knockup, all it does is gives the kill over to Geek Fam. So they pick up a Dragon for free. Now they're going to be able to reset. It's a 3-3 kill line. Both teams back on even footing, but Geek Fam come up with this Dragon.
That was such a good team fight. The focus on Control, genuinely so impressive.
And so now you take a look back onto Rumple. He came back from that fight, and like we mentioned, he had the item advantage, steals away the jungle cap. I'm not sure this is a good one for Control.
Oh no. Control maybe overstaying his welcome down here. There was a lane swap for Geek Fam, so they were at a man disadvantage for a moment. Now Nick steps in. And that should be enough. Bigetron back away. I don't think anything else will be found here.
So just trading a little bit of pressure, Control gets his revenge, comes in to steal the Grum, says, you may have taken the Dragon, but I'm going to see your jungle camps away. Instead, they switch their attention back up to this Baron lane. Henry makes his way up, and with Control, they have such a good combo to lock down Momo with the heroic entrance. It's difficult for this Ezreal to get much done.
Turret will fall. Ezreal joined now by Nyx, as Momo and Nyx will scare away Control and Valve 1, but they can't regain control of the turret in time, so it's still Bigetron getting a macro lead. The next skirmishing target is going to be this Rift Herald as it comes up. Geek Fam are going to skirmish for this top turret. Control guiding away, Henry in the meantime. Landing a very good taunt in the mid lane. Will be able to slow down the Shang and maybe find revenge for how low Dua is. Nobody dies in mid. Rift Herald will be zoned, controlled by Geek Fam, and they're going to start it as well.
Okay, Geek Fam coming in strong. They almost take down Dua, but they find Control and even take his flash out of the equation. So this means Rift Herald should head over to Geek Fam. They can use that to equalize turrets, break open the mid lane, and find the gold lead. After not such a great position, that's the Globe Herald slain for Geek Fam. Now could use this in the mid lane, wait for the Dragon to come up. They have pretty good wave clear with Ozurvaki, and again, he is that big presence for Geek Fam. You know, whether it's on a control mage or it's an assassin, like the Ahri, like the Akali, he gets so much work done. In this case, matching Henry so well, and Galio hasn't been able to find a single ultimate through this game yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think we just have to point out, Geek Fam playing up against elimination. If they lose this game, there's no way for them to make it out of groups. And this is the best they've looked yet.
So back against the wall, Geek Fam find that power spike. This is that point where you hit Saiyan mode. The first time when you realize that you have that next phase, and so they get this big power up. Zoroveki bot.
Oh no. Zoroveki, heard you talking about, is in trouble. Will go into stasis. He gets away! The smoke veil stasis combo is enough.
And such a sneaky, slippery champion. This Akali is so hard locked out. Bigetron Esports, they thought they had that kill, and so they didn't invest all that much. Looking at Harry here, he didn't invest the quickening to try and confirm that kill because he didn't feel like he needed to. But because of that, we saw what happened. The Akali gets out, resets, and should be able to join in on this dragon as it spawns in 20 seconds. Rift Herald up in Rumple's inventory too, so they could use this to make a big play.
I'd like to see it. Use that Rift Herald in the mid lane, set up through it to get a very easy second Drake. Bigetron aren't going to let it happen though. You can see this aggression already. Rumple will go in, be read by Control, who gets a knockup. Rumple is able to get away. Bigetron still in control of the river though. They have a ton of vision here.
I'm sweating watching Rumple play. He jumps in any chance that he gets, and although I can respect the aggression, sometimes I don't think it pans off too well. If Harry had invested a little bit more, controlled it, they could have potentially got this kill on the Lee Sid. And without the jungler, what are you playing for? You can't get this dragon.
Rumple has the Rift Herald as well. So there's an awful lot of value on a man who is just going. A Rift Herald surely coming near its due date, so it will be summoned. Zoroveki in the meantime is caught out, isolated in the bot lane. Control reads, will find a knockup. Zoroveki has backup though, as Control dives in on Zoroveki. It's going to be the full heroic entrance follow-up. It's not enough though. Geek Fam are able to reset and come to the front line, shutting down Harry. And you've got the Shang taking everything down. 2 kills over to Geek Fam. They're going to keep pushing forward. Zoroveki challenged by Dua, who's stepping very aggressively into Geek Fam, but it should just be a Drake.
And how did all of that start? Zoroveki holding towards that dragon lane, waiting out in the Twilight Shout as we now see a fight breaking out again.
Nyx into the front line, too rooted there. It's Control and Dua kite away. In the meantime, this Drake is so incredibly low, and Rumple's dead. Henry assassinating Rumple. That makes the Ocean Drake very sketchy, but it will still go over to Geek Fam, and Dua is able to kite away. Zoroveki, 1 HP shut down on the other side of the stasis. Bigetron are able to turn a fight. They lose the Drake, but they come out ahead in player kills.
The Trujna Barrage finds Dua on the exit, and Bigetron Esports for a moment finally looked like they got the fight they wanted. They got a kill onto a Zoroveki, took down Rumple, and so for a moment it looked decent. But Geek Fam find more in exchange. The Rift Herald broke open the mid lane. Meanwhile, they got that dragon, and finding that last kill on the Xayah on the exit is just icing on the cake. Geek Fam finally find their footing in the next game as they have their backs against the wall in relegation. And so now Geek Fam, they have to keep this aggression going. This is where they're strong. Rumple is looking for these opportunities for his team to continue and follow up with, especially with the Braum. They can look for these quick catches before the Galleon can look for that full heroic entrance. Whereas Bigetron Esports, they just want to keep scaling up because Xayah is such a late game monster, has so much damage along the Rakan. They have a lot of team fighting potential that comes online the later this game goes, as long as they don't lose out too much.
And Geek Fam, do it. I'm so scared. Rumple just goes in on any opportunity. But Geek Fam, despite having this early game lead, don't have that much in the gold lead. They don't have that much in terms of a compositional advantage. So I'm a little worried that as we go on here, Nissam, things are going to turn back over towards Bigetron.
Oh yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Bigetron have plenty of scaling options, and only being down a little bit in gold and taking a look at where most of the gold is, being on Henry and being on Dua, they have honestly a really good spot to just scale back up. Their main carries have plenty of damage. Of course, right now, Control is facing a little bit of an existential crisis. doesn't quite know what he's supposed to do. Rumpo, on the other hand, has found great pickoffs and led the fight, the start of many a fight at this point that put his team in a good spot. Again, getting a lot of damage on the Harry, but a little bit too ambitious to try and look for a fight here. Instead, get control around the Baron, wait out for the Dragon, and force him to make a decision considering Inferno is next to spawn.
Geek fam, do have that Baron zoned off. I would be very interested to see them force a fight now, which they could. We'll see if they have the ambition for it, as Control and Harry are instead spending their time down bottom, setting up vision around this upcoming Drake.
And so, Rod of Ages, Rabadon completed for the Galleon. You take a look at Lichbane, Oblivion Orb, and Rabadon completed for the Akali. And while their gold might be similar, because the Akali has been able to find more opportunities to reset and join back into his fights earlier, has the item advantage, being able to take down the enemy carries in good spots here.
Pressure in onto Momo in the mid lane as Bigetron set up their map control, defensive. This is the way Bigetron want to play. Like you talked about, they have the scaling game, they have the late game, and they're comfortable waiting for it.
And so for Geek fam right now, get the Akali ahead. They've checked off that box. The Ezreal picks up 2 items, checked off that box too. Dragon coming up, they should look for his fight. They can take down Diwa, might be able to even go as far as to take down Harry with this Akali. If you're able to take down most of the playmaking and damage from Bigetron Esports, they really don't have much more left in the tank. And because while the gold looks pretty even, most of it is on the Xayah in the Dragon lane.
Harry taken to the front lines here as Bigetron begin their setup around this Drake. Geek fam, as you talked about, need to fight this. Ozravaki still in the bottom lane, nowhere near the Drake, as Geek fam begins to maintain control of the area. Momo into the front lines, forcing Bigetron back. Geek fam now have control of the river, but Control is going to step up into it alongside Harry, and they're going to be able to threaten Geek fam enough that this Drake take isn't safe. It is warded. They know what's up. The Shang pops the blast cone. That much harder for Bigetron to get in here. So they walk up the old-fashioned way, and Geek fam, seeing that coming, simply cancel and shove in mid.
But Zoroveki just taking this time to farm the jungle, I'm not quite sure I agree with this play. Sure, they don't want to overcommit for the Dragon, especially when they don't have to, but going for the jungle camps instead of looking for a possible angle, not the best.
Hextech ultimatum. He's caught the Shang, caught in the ultimate. Here's the follow, heroic entrance as well. Bigetron find a very good start to the fight, but they don't kill the Shang. Ruffle drops into stasis in the front lines. Finally, Henry will go down. The Shang able to find a massive shutdown. And there's Ozravaki. A double kill. Cleans up the fight as soon as he arrives. Ozravaki gives Geek fam a massive team fight win.
And a big run for the money. Bigetron Esports not gonna be happy with this one. Geek fam finally get the big fight they were looking for the longest time. Snowballs and propels themselves ahead in gold. 5,000, the biggest lead we've seen all game. And this means the Dragon converted over onto Geek fam. They choose to push out the bot wave instead of going for this Baron. This is understandable, considering Momo just doesn't have the sustained damage that you otherwise would have with that Blade of the Rune King. Without that, difficult to pick up this Baron quickly. Instead, they're gonna reset, come back in stronger, pick up another fight yet again. And the Shang, so critical here, has multiple survivability items, and with a heavily physical damage composition, Bigetron Esports have a difficult time taking down this Garen.
Harry and Control zoning here. They know what's up. Bigetron know that Geek fam are about to start this Baron. But like you were talking about, how do they get past the Shang? How do they get in on any of these objectives at this point?
Oh, they took the blue buff. They stole it away. I'm sorry, that was just way too entertaining to see. So Bigetron Esports, once again, in a tough spot, they just have to keep trying to scale back up, because even with how strong the Shang is, there's only so much he can do. The Felp is a big split pushing threat, and with the precision protocol, can get good damage.
Ooh. all alone. Control into the front lines. Will be backed up now by the heroic entrant and Harry. They've got a good taunt as well. Geek Fam very low, but Control's going to be the first player to die. He finds a trade. Momo goes down. Du and Harry cleans up in the meantime, though. Massive plays from Ozrovecki yet again to sweep in round the side. And that will be Geek Fam coming out on top of a scary fight.
The cornerstone of Geek Fam, Ozrovecki, comes online and takes down the members of BTR. And like we said, where's the gold on? It's on Diwa, it's on Harry. And if these two cannot join the fight, there's nothing Bigetron can do. You don't expect Control to do much at this point. You don't expect Harry to do much at this point. They get a little bit of crowd control. They find maybe a little bit of damage. But the bulk of it, the bulk of the fight's impact is going to be resting in Henry's and Diwa's arms. So Geek Fam make great priority focus to lock down the Xayah early on. Of course, they trade back on Momo, and so that takes away the chance to do Baron from Geek Fam. And Geek Fam, I feel like a little bit too worried about misstepping and making this Baron call. I feel like they could be going for this chance a little bit stronger and a little bit earlier instead of waiting for Bigetron to come back in.
Rumpel trying to solo out the Rakan. It's not going to happen. He's too fast.
So now Geek Fam crashing in the wave, and this is a good decision from them. If they can crash in the mid wave, crash in the Baron wave, Baron lane wave, they can convert that into a Baron start. Force Bigetron to walk into them. Control, of course, could dive in with the Galio, but with how far and how wide the teamfight could spread out, Diwa could be in a spot where he just cannot offload any damage at all. And so Geek Fam taking it slow. This is one of the longest games that we've seen in a while at this point. I really respect Geek Fam playing it a very disciplined way, finally starting up the Baron perhaps.
No, because you've got this split lane on the opposite side. And Bigetron are going to take advantage of that, knowing they have a man advantage, but do is instantly split from the fight. Caught alone, jumped by a true shot, and here comes Ozrovecki. Du is still live with a flash. Heal, Featherstorm, that keeps him going. Ozrovecki, no HP, in the stasis, will flash away to safety. Bigetron survive the attempt, but they lose control, and with a jungler down, Geek Fam have no excuse to not start this Baron.
And Henry was so clutch there, denying Ozrovecki from jumping in and taking a great fight to execute Diwa. Without the Xayah, there's no chance of stopping this Baron. At the very minimum now, Bigetron Esports could look to delay this or force Geek Fam to reset. Instead, they're just going to look to try and move in, but Ozrovecki's such a big presence, such a big threat. Not too much they can do here.
Yeah, just throws down the smoke veil. Henry in, taunt. Should be able to find the kill, but he's not going to get the Baron. That Baron over to Geek Fam. A double kill, Ozrovecki. Oh my lord, a triple. It's going to be the Globe Baron power play, followed immediately by an Oppo team ace. Geek Fam in dominant control of the game. They're going to run all the way down the mid lane and keep their tournament hopes alive. With this win, Geek Fam are going to stay in the Summer Super Cup. They have an opportunity to get out of groups.
And finally gets that win. They are so happy. You can see some of the players literally jumping in excitement. Finally gets that first win. It's a great feeling for Geek Fam. They're still in the running. They have the next match up against Amihan Esports, and if they can repeat what we just saw out of them here, there's a chance they could take down the Giants of Group B.
Yeah, that would be huge. Geek Fam have to play back-to-back games though, so we're gonna need to see whether, you know, we always ask, are you warmed up or are you worn out? Yes, we'll finally get to see which one of those matters more. Here's your end game scoreboard. Ozrovecki, what a performance, going 7-1 and 9, a massive amount of his team's damage. Momo on the Ezreal accounting for the rest.
I'm sure a lot of people might ask, why there's such a big emphasis on Ozrovecki when we talk about Geek Fam? Why do we focus so much on this mid laner? And this goes to show, because Ozrovecki is a big playmaker. He's that cornerstone for Geek Fam. He brings in so much experience and knowledge.